Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Beginning in southeast Nebraska, where the 3 and 33 Mutual Aid Association, a cohort of firefighters and emergency response personnel based throughout southeast Nebraska, held its quarterly meeting at the Jansen Fire Hall this week. The group discussed the need for more specific equipment requests in calls for mutual aid. They also discussed a proposal to tap into a small radio frequency to coordinate with farmers on site at field fires, and unanimously approved a plan including dispatchers as formal members of the association.
They're a big part of this association on how we get dispatched out and everything else. I don't know why we went this long without having them on there.
The association's next meeting will be in February in Fairbury and will feature the membership's annual elections. In national news, President Joe Biden capping off his term with a diplomatic whirlwind. He's attending the APEC Summit in Peru Friday. Saturday, set to meet with China's president before the G20 summit next week in Brazil. The trip comes as many world leaders are shifting their attention away from Biden. As Amy Kiley reports, they're more focused on President-elect Donald Trump.
President Joe Biden is in Peru today for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. APEC has 21 member economies. Some analysts say it's an awkward time for Biden to gather with their leaders.
Yeah, he promised that America was back, and instead Donald Trump is back. This trip, as a result, has an air of melancholy over it. It's Joe Biden as a lame duck, and he's not in a position to reassure.
Sources say many heads of state are pivoting their focus to President-elect Donald Trump. Analysts say his America First policy vision leaves allies in an uncertain position.
For a lot of these countries, they're going to have to decide. Do they become more self-sufficient? Do they lean or tilt towards China? Do they try to find new partners?
Biden has a trilateral talk with the South Korean president and the Japanese prime minister this afternoon. Tomorrow, he's scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's set to be their last one-on-one before Biden leaves office.
One of the purposes of this meeting, an official tells me, is to have a sort of bookend conversation between President Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping to address some of the issues that have arisen over the last 4 years and to chart any progress, if any, that has been made during that time.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
A winter coming soon, and if you're wondering what winter weather might look like in Nebraska, we have a few answers. Emphasis on the plural, answers. According to the National Weather Service, there's about an equal chance for a number of scenarios. Jake Bartecki has more.
Before we know it, winter weather will be impacting Nebraska. To get a pulse on what kind of winter season the Cornhusker State may be in for, News Channel Nebraska reached out to Becky Kern with the National Weather Service, and she says it's still up in the air.
We really don't have a strong feeling one way or the other if it's going to be an active, wet, and cold winter versus a warm, dry winter.
Kern is the warning coordination meteorologist for the National Weather Service in Omaha and explains that trends studied by climatologist preview centers show equal chances of being above normal and below for precipitation in Nebraska. Much of this is due to a more neutral trend in the equatorial Pacific, which breeds El Nino and La Nina. While you might think heavy snowfall would put a dent in a long drought dating back to July, Kern says that isn't quite the case.
Your soils aren't absorbing the water necessarily as quickly. So our drought monitor is actually pretty stagnant right now. But we're looking at, those springtime rains are when we can really improve conditions.
But that doesn't mean no snow at all is a good thing.
We want to keep those, precipitation averages coming. We need those precipitation chances, falling across the state to really improve conditions. And that really goes to say, with the dried fuels that are out there and any wind that comes along, and if we don't have snow cover, that just continues our fire weather season too.
In Lincoln, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
The obesity epidemic in the U.S. is projected to escalate dramatically. A new study in the medical journal Lancet suggests that by 2050, nearly 260 million Americans could be impacted. Health experts warn more than 43 million children and teens could be dealing with obesity. Those affected could be facing health complications associated with a high body mass like diabetes, cancer, heart problems, even mental health issues, and that could drive up doctor bills. The study noted that in 2016, healthcare costs attributed to obesity alone were between $261 and $481 billion. Researchers say prevention, especially through healthy school meals and active communities, will be crucial. Sensing a lack of available opportunities, a statewide support organization is now providing services for people with disabilities in a rural southeast Nebraska county at a new day center that's the first of its kind. Tim Hackett has more.
After a few months of preparations, on Wednesday afternoon in Geneva, statewide support organization APEC debuted its new day center, which will serve as a daily home base for individuals with disabilities in Geneva and in the greater Fillmore County area. APEC serves individuals either through these daily programs, through residential services, or both in many other areas across southeast Nebraska. But there was nothing like this offered in Geneva until now.
If somebody wanted supports from us or from another provider, they would have to spend several hours a day on a van traveling from one location to another, and that's at the core, that's not what we do. Ultimately, we want to be in the community with individuals where they live, so they can meet their goals and kind of do what they want to do in their community where they're at.
Close to 100 people attended Wednesday's official grand opening for a building that has now been in operation for a couple of weeks. Formerly a physician's clinic, the space now features workspaces for staff members and health professionals, and many rooms designed to help the patients train skills that will help them both personally and professionally.
We train them here inside the facility, stuff they can take outside the facility and use in their daily lives. And we can really help bridge that gap for job opportunities, community involvement, community integration, and that's our job.
There are programs in Fillmore County aimed at youths with disabilities, such as the ones offered here at Fillmore Central High School, but eventually those folks age out, and that's where APEC steps in to help put them on the pathway towards full integration with their local communities. This is the 21st center like this that APEC operates throughout the state. They've already begun assisting 2 people in town, with hopes to assist as many as a dozen when the staffing and interest demand it, though they know it will take some time to build to that point. In Geneva, Tim Hackett, News Channel Nebraska.
The City of Nebraska Kearney celebrating a fundraising record set during its annual Day of Giving. UNK says it received more than 2,000 gifts from nearly 1,400 donors, totaling $290,000 during one day for UNK. The 4th annual giving event ran from noon on Wednesday to noon on Thursday. Gifts were made online to an assortment of programs, scholarships, athletics, student organizations, and academic departments. A news release says the number of gifts and donors, as well as the amount raised, all set new records. And finally, last Tuesday, as American adults went to the polls, young citizens at Kearney Elementary School also visited the ballot box. Now, they weren't choosing the direction of the country, but they were making a decision that will have a lasting impact on their school. Michael Shively has more.
Park Elementary students are getting one of their first tastes of democracy, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
You gotta think and pick the right person.
The students are picking the name of their beloved Park Panther mascot. Guidance counselor Debbie Mers helped organize the election.
Well, the 5th graders had to use a lot of commitment in getting this project done, lots of flexibility.
It was a serious enterprise for the 5th grade class. They were divided into 4 groups and tasked with building profiles for their candidate, either Parker, Percy, Patrick, or Penny.
They put together a commercial to highlight their candidate. They made posters and all about big billboards for them.
Some campaigns went beyond hallway arts.
I have a sister in 3rd grade, so I told her to tell everybody to vote for Penny. We have a teacher named Miss Reiner, and she likes Taylor Swift, so we put Taylor Swift on our poster, so we kind of got her class to vote for us.
The students used the same rationale as many adults when casting their votes. They selected the candidate they had the most in common with.
So she likes football, basketball, she likes Blue Jolly Ranchers, which is my favorite too. I voted for Penny because I was going to be named Penelope, but called Penny.
MERS and the teachers preached the importance of a peaceful election.
We're going to be voting, and we're all going to support whoever wins and just getting along and being flexible.
It resonated with the students, who took pride in knowing their vote was their way to leave a mark to be seen by future generations.
It's really cool because that's kind of like our name on that because we did that.
A decision on a name that will last far longer than 4 years. In Kearney, Michael Shively, News Channel, Nebraska.
And after those votes were tallied, Park students voted for Parker as the name for their Panther mascot. You can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.